Okay, part two. My apologies, that was my error. The screen started to dim, so I touched it, and that's what recorded it. But no need to know about that, worry about that. We were talking about articulating graduation expectations for students and how often, and I was making the point that I've seen some clinicians actually use their data sheets as sort of like the summarize at progress report time and then include that actually on the graduation certificate so students can then have an actual detailed account of progress they've made each year. Now, of course, or each term. If you just write, nice kid, can't wait to see him next term, that's not going to work real well. However, definitely use the information that you already have. And parents, as we know, that are connected to what's happening with intervention are very curious as far as what information is being shared with their child, but also the progress that a child is making. So those are just some different tips. If you would now advance to the next slide, our third recommendation is actually record students for a fall baseline. Now, this kind of plays into that idea of what are we going to do differently next year, that you start that sort of seed turning in a child's head. And this is all information you're going to have to come back to in the fall, realistically, because kids are already started on summer mode and their other classes have got them on summer mode. And so you just have to be patient that you're collecting good data that will be utilized in the fall. How many times do we get a kid and we have them in the fall and I'm like, okay, I had you all spring, but where were you? I'm going to look back at my notes. Now let me listen to you. Did you regress over the summer? Like there's all this sort of information you're trying to process, but that's an incredible expectation to be able to remember that. If you formalize some sort of recording, especially if you're covering a leave or you're in a short-term assignment, imagine how valuable that would be to the speech pathologist who is going to follow you in the fall. If you're able to say, recordings are left on the computer, see them here in this folder, or whatever mechanism you might use. Now, what kind of recording am I talking about really depends on the resources that are at hand with you. You can use an audio recording, you can use a video recording. I personally think video trumps everything and also keeps kids interested. If you can use some sort of smartphone or a tablet or some other mechanism by which to demonstrate to kids that technology is happening. And then you could also consider checking out equipment from the actual schools. Many have video cameras and some probably still use VCR tapes that you could utilize to get a good picture of kids. Now, am I suggesting this just for articulation? No, I think you can record kids giving an oral narrative. I think kids can or verbal narrative, I think is what I wanted to say. And I think you can record kids answering questions, organizing information. I think everything that we have an expectation of what we've been working on, why not go ahead and capture that for students and for their parents if they want to see it, and future clinicians or yourself. That's rich information, especially some kids leave over the summer and they come back and they've just blossomed and you're like, wow, that is fantastic. This plan you may have made in the summer, now you may want to rethink that because there's so much growth between what you saw when they left and really what they put into practice. Other kids is just the opposite. You would have expected some growth if they were communicating with anyone over the summer in between video games. But if they haven't made any growth or they've regressed, it's great evidence if you're needing to consider ESY. But it's also important evidence to say, how much support did they get over the summer? If it turns out likely nothing, we're really going to have to turn it up this fall in order to get them to where I want them to be, to continue to march towards that graduation effort. So that is really important way to, and I love this little picture here on the slide of how we used to do old-fashioned recordings, but nowadays students could probably be more sophisticated than you in how to make those things happen with technology. Unfortunately, this is a very good thing, and there are many different ways we could use that recording, especially if you capture kids over time, and if you're fortunate enough to be in the same location. So if you would just continue now to the next slide, and this one, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I really think that yes, you're not getting paid, no, you're not working during the summer, but there is great value in keeping in touch with parents. Now, that's not to say you're going to hold meetings and that it's going to be really an in-depth effort, But let's say maybe every 3 weeks you send a text to the mom that says, hey, don't forget, Johnny should be working on S and Z. Wow, imagine how powerful. Or better yet, kids as young as 3rd and 4th grade have their own phones now. You could text directly to them. I'm sure they'll feel like they're being stalked by their speech pathologist over the summer. But since you're the one coming back to a student, I don't know that I would do this so much with language goals, but with articulation, to send a one-way communication, whether it's by email or text or voicemail, that's not out of the realm of impossible. Am I recommending you do that for every single student? No, I'm not. But I do think it's reasonable to have those certain kids where you know they're on the cusp and you could push them one way or they could slide back another. It's worth considering. So many of our families prefer texting now. I come from the generation where email was created, and I think email is the most amazing thing in the whole universe and probably will until I die. Well, my grandfather felt that way about the phone, and so he went to his grave only wanting to talk by phone, and I only want to do email. And now, really, I meet so many more young parents and students today that only want to text. So you have to kind of meet them where they're at, and even if it's not your immediate comfort zone, you want to take that into consideration. So the other things you might do in order to stay in touch over the summer, and really this is just about planting the seed and remembering speech and language. The nice part is there are programs now where you can send out newsletters at different times, and you could pipe all that together in advance and then have it scheduled to send every 2 or 3 weeks to whomever you want, so you're not actually doing the work over the summer. So it might just be like a tip. It might be a reading suggestion. It might be, here's something in the news that will still be fresh in 4 weeks when it goes out in terms of students and different learning challenges. So consider keeping that connection going, even if you are not personally sitting there texting in July. If you're thinking, yeah, just cross that slide off the list, Soliday, there's no way I'm doing that. You can set something up in advance to send those mailings out and never have to worry about it again. And frankly, for so many of our families that crave our contact, that is a great way to stay in touch. And you're welcome to put on the flyer, speech pathologist will be available after, September 9th or whenever you come back to work. We do have one quick question. Eva Marie, we're going to come back to that. It's a really good conversation question. It has to do with R and how long it should take. But we're going to finish these last couple of slides first. And anybody else is welcome to chime in with a question. Okay, the next slide has to do with student-generated review. This is where you actually turn the session over to kids. And you say, okay, guess what? I went to the dollar store, or I went to my cupboard, and here's some paper or a thank you card. There's something of that sort. You are going to write a letter to someone in the building besides me that helped you make a difference in your speech, or someone in the building or in your community or family. Could be their church community, could be a sports league outside, maybe some sort of coach or a parent or grandparent, and you are going to tell them, what you got out of speech this year and the kind of progress that you made. And this is usually met with a oh gosh, why would I want to do this? This is awful. But I really think you can frame it by giving a lot of supports and, here's some opening phrases and talking about their success. It gives them a real opportunity to shine and to share that success with another adult that is going to encourage and nurture and continue to encourage and nurture them. And, if you send a thank you note to your coach who says, thanks for, reminding me that one time, that I should be working on my speech when I talk to you, that's also going to leave a powerful impression with the coach. And he might be someone for that next year who asks twice in the next year, hey, how's it go with that speech? I see you're getting better. It's going to help create positive supports outside of the speech room and create some ownership for the student. The next slide has to do with actually setting an example for the kids. So this is not something you would do with the kids unless you have them at the table and you're writing the note at the same time. But I think sometimes we forget because we're very overwhelmed and we're very challenged by everything we have to get done on our yellow legal pad list to stop and actually say thank you to the other people that are making intervention more friendly for you to complete. Because frankly, it could be very possible. Teachers could just say, look, I don't know when you're going to see them. You know, I don't care what you have to say, figure it out, but this is the time I'm working with them. But more often than not, we have teachers that say, absolutely, when do you want him? You know, absolutely, you can come in and do that. Absolutely, you know, tell me what I should be reinforcing. And when you get that positive vibe, take the time to actually write them a note. If you're new to the building or you're doing just a short-term leave, take the time to write a note to the principal about what you've accomplished, what you've seen students accomplish, and really what you hope to share about how speech pathology will support general education as a whole. Unfortunately, we are left to be responsible for building the bridge to general education. And general education doesn't really know how to reach out and say, this is, okay, this is how you'll be integrated into what I'm teaching, so please do that. You are the one that's going to have to say, here's what I want to do in your classroom and how I can support you. And when people are open to that, we want to reinforce that. So it's not a matter of, is it an equitable environment or should I be doing that? No one does this for me. Just really kind of lose all that. What you'll find this effort does is, one, it's the right thing to do and good manners, and two, it's going to really open up the conversation faster next year when you need to be working with these teachers and administrators to either do something different with a student if you do need to change their service, because you don't want to assume everything's going to look the same way as next year. So those are some 6 general ideas. If you see, of course, the last slide is perhaps the most important one, because if someone in your building has not already told you that you make a difference, you need to know that you really do. The fact that you are making an effort to create more ideas in a bigger toolbox for your own use through these types of Hello Live sessions or other professional development. There's a lot of people who choose to take the path of least resistance, and most of us do not, and most of you do not. And so I just want to say thank you. You have made a tremendous effort, and it makes a tremendous difference in the lives of children. So thank you for your work, and I hope you have a great end of the year. Now, to answer Ava Marie's question, how long would you expect a student to take to attain correct R production in conversation if a student cannot produce R but can create a tongue bowl? Okay, I love that. One, I love that I know what the tongue bowl reference is because I too have been watching Jane. Now, here's what we know about the research. If their only difficulty is R, now the research tells us that to make one significant section of gain, meaning to move from severe to moderate, or moderate to mild, or mild to remediation, or remediated, you're really looking at that 20 to 30 hours of intervention. I think where we've gotten bogged down in the past, especially with R, is we spend hours and hours doing the same thing, trying to hope for a different outcome, and just thinking, well, a child just needs to say something different, or I'll just do this another 5 times. And that's what keeps kids with R on the workload forever and a day. I would stick to that same idea that in a 9-month period, 8 to 9 months, we should be moving kids from that one severity level to the next. If they're severe now, because they can only make a tongue bowl, they should be, after next school year, to maybe a mild to moderate impairment with R. But what that means is that you're going to have to be on top of it. And that presumes you see them only once a week. If you saw them twice a week, we're down to 5 months. So that means, in that case, you are going to have to be making progress. So if what you're doing in one session with this kid, it's not, you know, it's like, okay, he's got the tongue bowl, but I can't get the R sound. We're not getting it. We're not getting it. You have got to be creative and doing something different consistently, not maybe every session, you know, because I know you can take the same strategy and tweak it and use it in different ways, or try it in different ways to try to help it click with the student. But you've got to be doing that. If you just keep trying the same thing, and it might mean you need another set of eyes or somebody else to come in and listen to that child, ask another professional to say, okay, come, you know, send a recording to Jane and ask a video recording and ask Jane to, you know, maybe show it as a Hello Live presentation and, you know, suggestions that she would have or feedback you can get. But it's those kinds of things that I'm talking about when I say you have to do something different. Because in private practice, frankly, there is no way a paying parent is going to tolerate a child staying at the same level for 4 months before you go, yeah, I'm completely stuck, and you tend to be hesitant about those kids even coming into your session. So I hope that helped. It's not a clean, direct answer, but I hope it gives you something. Okay, Karen. Karen shares, she's spoken with her 3rd and 4th grade Artic students about talking like a 4th and 5th grader. This seems to encourage them to practice in other settings. I point out where they've improved and include them in planning what and where they can practice this summer. That is great, Karen, because not only are you teaching kids like, okay, here's where you're going, but you're also creating that whole cognitive skill of planning ahead, and that you have to break a task down, even speech, to figure out where else can I practice. So that was fantastic. So keep up the great work, and thanks for sharing the tip. And Laura, you're welcome. So that puts us right at about the end of our session. You're always welcome to send questions to info at, is it the Hello Foundation? Okay, I got that right. Versus something Hello Live. Oh, to clarify, it should take 20 to 30 hours to progress from severity level to the next level. Yes, actually, and you can, I found that off a piece of research that I want to say Progressus did, and that was from, it was posted, I think, on the ASHA website. I had to kind of dig for that information, but it's embedded in there. So, but it's about right, because when I talk to a lot, I've ran that by lots and lots of speech pathologists, and they all say, yeah, those numbers are about right. You know, we should, depending on, you know, it shouldn't take more than that long for a kid to make growth. So just think about it. And maybe you'll have a better idea or a better way to measure it, and I'd be interested in knowing. In the meanwhile, thank you for the work you've done. We are going to be back in the fall with our free live seminars. We're also going to have, we're also going to have our recorded sessions for if you know of individuals that may be interested in watching them. We keep them at a really, really low cost in order to just pay for the technology to keep them online. So if you know someone looking to pick up some hours over the summer, thank you for sharing that. Otherwise, have a great summer, and we will see you in the fall. If you have suggestions of what you'd like to see on Hello Live, we're definitely going to be bringing Jane back, but continually, because she's very popular. But if you have other things you would like to see, please give us a call. We'd love to know what you're thinking, because in the end, we're here for you. Thanks so much.